Okay, let's dive in. You know how sometimes you encounter a material that just feels right?
Hmm.
Like it belongs, bringing this kind of permanence and elegance.
Absolutely.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that kind of material, Tundra Grey marble. We've had the chance to look at some really, really detailed information on this stone.
Yes, from people who really know it, who work with it day in, day out,
Yeah,
bringing it from the quarry to amazing projects all over the world.
exactly. It feels like a privilege to get that kind of insight.
It really does.
Yeah.
And working with a stone like this, well, understanding its journey, what makes it so sought after?
Mm.
It helps you appreciate it on a whole different level.
It's like understanding its story, isn't it? From like deep geological time right up to its place in a modern apartment or hotel.
That's a great way to put it.
So that's our mission today, really, to unpack what makes Tundra Gray marble special, where does its story begin, and why are designers everywhere reaching for it?
Yeah, it's definitely showing up a lot.
It's more than just looking at specs, right? It's about getting the essence of the stone itself.
Exactly. And where better to start that story than with how it looks? Its aesthetic appeal.
Okay.
When you first look at this material, the thing that grabs you is this incredible balance, these gray tones.
It's not just one flat gray color, is it? I noticed that. There's a kind of depth.
Absolutely. It's layered,
Yeah.
and running through that gray, you have this really delicate, almost misty white veining.
Misty, yeah.
It creates this visual, well, it instantly evokes images for me. I always think of those vast, calm Anatolian tundras.
Ah, okay. I can see that.
It feels like a little piece of ancient geological time,
Hmm.
captured and brought right into your space.
That sense of history, of nature,
Yeah.
that must be a huge part of its appeal. There's a definite emotional response when you see it, isn't there? It feels very peaceful.
It really brings a sense of calm presence and spaciousness, too. It seems to open up interiors.
And sophisticated.
Oh, undeniably.
Yeah.
But it's a quiet sophistication. It's not shouting at you. It's elegant through its simplicity.
I can see how that kind of calm, balanced look would make it incredibly versatile for designers.
That's one of its biggest strengths, honestly. They just work seamlessly with modern elegance.
Huh.
It feels current, but also completely timeless,
Right.
which is probably why it's become such a favorite for designers who are embracing minimalism.
Makes sense.
Its palette is so neutral, but still rich. It means it pairs beautifully with materials right across the spectrum.
Like what sort of things?
Well, think about it. You can put it next to the warmth of wood,
Mm.
the clean, sharp lines of metal, the transparency of glass. Tundra Gray acts as this sort of beautiful grounding element. It lets the other material shine, but it also enhances the whole space.
So it plays well with others, basically.
Very well.
But how does it visually expand a space? You mentioned that, and the source material does too.
It's in the subtlety, I think. The movement in the veining is gentle, and the way light plays on the surface, it's soft. It doesn't create busy patterns that kind of close a room in.
Okay.
Instead, your eye just flows across it. And that makes the space feel more open, more breathable, more serene.
It sounds like it can really set a mood, almost like a canvas for the rest of the design.
Precisely.
Mm.
It has this wonderful ability to create both contrast and harmony. You could use it as the main feature, say a huge floor area or a fireplace wall.
Right.
And then you could warm it up by bringing in beige tones or other warmer materials nearby. Or you could go dramatic, pair it with deeper colors, maybe even other darker marbles.
Oh,
It really holds it's adaptable to whatever narrative, the designer wants to
like a
create.
narrative. That's a nice way to think about it.
Yeah, because its look isn't just superficial. It tells a story, I think. A story of simplicity, of grace. It's where timelessness and purity and elegance all sort of meet.
Mm.
It really acts as that foundational element, defining the whole feel of a space.
Okay, so aesthetically, it's telling the story of calm, of sophistication. But where does that story actually begin? Where does this stuff come from before it ends up on a project site?
Its origin is pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah.
It's a natural wonder.
Yeah.
It's extracted from these really rich stone veins right in the heart of Turkey.
Turkey.
And the whole process from getting it out of the quarry to turning it into a finished slab or tile,
Mm.
it involves meticulous expertise. Selecting just the right blocks, cutting them carefully, processing them to keep that natural beauty and strength.
So it starts deep in the earth, handled with care. Where does it usually find its first homes in, like, buildings and interiors?
Well, primarily in interiors. In
Yeah.
those classic applications where natural stone just shines, we see it used extensively for flooring.
Right, creates a nice seamless look.
Exactly. Expansive. And for wall cladding, bringing that texture up vertically. And then, of course, kitchens and bathrooms, countertops, vanities, the
Mhm.
usual suspects for marble.
Those are kind of expected uses. But the information we saw also talked about using it in high traffic areas. That suggests it's pretty tough, right?
Absolutely. It's not just for quiet homes. Its inherent properties make it a really excellent choice for public spaces, too. Places that see constant foot traffic.
Such as.
The hotel lobbies, busy shopping centers,
Yeah.
corporate office buildings. It delivers that high-end aesthetic and the resilience you need in those spots.
Okay. And what about places that get wet? Bathrooms, obviously, but like really wet zones? Or even outside?
Yeah, that's where specific treatments become important. With the right anti-slip finish applied to the surface, Tundra Grey can be used safely and really effectively in wet zones. And even outdoors. We're talking pool decks that feel amazing under
Luxurious.
elegant garden paths or even quite prestigious facade applications,
Hmm.
bringing that natural stone beauty right onto the exterior of a building.
Facades. Wow, that feels like a big step up from just indoor surfaces.
It really shows how versatile it is. And that versatility goes further into more decorative, more custom uses too.
Like what?
Well, think about using it as split-face stone.
Yeah.
Where the face isn't smooth sawn but naturally broken, creates this rugged, textured look for an accent wall,
Oh, cool.
or crafting intricate mosaics. That gives designers incredible freedom for smaller areas or totally custom designs. It can define little nooks or be a key feature in rustic designs or even really contemporary high-end boutique projects.
Sounds like designers have a lot of creative scope with it. And this isn't just a Turkish stone anymore, is it? It seems to have traveled the world.
Oh, it's absolutely an international material now. I mean, yes, it's used in really prestigious projects right there in Turkey. Imagine the serene harmony in a luxury hotel spa, or how it blends tradition and innovation in a modern Turkish hammam.
Hmm.
But its global presence is huge, massive.
Where have you seen it making a big impact outside Turkey?
Its footprint is just vast. The United States, the Middle East, across Europe, Asia. We see it specified for stunning custom staircases, creating these grand entrances.
Wow.
Large-scale lobby floors in corporate HQs, really striking building facades, even things like high-end bar counters in chic hotels or restaurants.
That example of the modern villa using it for understated luxury, that really stuck with me.
Yes, that captures it perfectly.
Yeah.
Using that subtle color depth to convey luxury without being flashy.
So it really does fit in anywhere style-wise and geographic.
That's the key, I think. It integrates effortlessly. Contemporary designs, classic designs. It works. It's become a staple in global architectural libraries, in designers' palettes.
Go-to material.
Pretty much. And because it can be supplied worldwide, it creates these really nice aesthetic bridges, bringing a piece of Anatolia into spaces everywhere, adapting to different cultural styles.
That's quite a journey. From a quarry in Turkey to, say, a luxury villa in Dubai or a hotel lobby in New York.
It really is.
But, okay, as beautiful and versatile as it is, for architecture, it needs substance, right? What about the technical side? What makes it a reliable choice structurally?
Right. This is where those detailed specs we looked at really provide the foundation. The confidence. It's not just pretty. It has the actual structural integrity you need for a building material.
Okay, let's dig into some of those numbers. What about its hardness? How scratch resistant is it?
So it measures between 3.5 and 4 on the Mohs scale. Now, what that means practically. It offers good resistance to everyday abrasion and scratching, suitable for normal walking surfaces, general use.
But it's still marble.
Exactly. It's marble, so it's not like granite or quartzite, it's not diamond hard, but it's definitely durable enough for its intended applications.
Okay. And its density, does that matter?
There's around 2.60 to 2.70 grams per cubic centimeter. That contributes to its substantial feel, its solidness. It feels like quality stone.
And strength, like how much weight can it take?
Good question. The compressive strength, that's how much pressure it can handle before crushing, is around 100 to 110 megapascals.
Okay, and the flexural strength, which is more about its resistance to bending, is about 6 megapascals. Those numbers basically confirm it's strong enough for uses like flooring or wall cladding.
Right, it's not going to just crack under normal use.
Exactly.
Okay, strength checks out. What about moisture? Especially for those wet zones or outdoor uses you mentioned. Water absorption seems critical there.
Absolutely crucial. And this is another strong point for Tundra Grey. Its water absorption rate is very low, between 0.5 and 0.8%.
That is low for a natural stone.
It is. And that low porosity is a major technical advantage. It ensures it lasts well and stays stable, especially in humid places like big bathrooms or spas, or even outdoors.
And porosity itself, is that different from absorption?
Slightly. Total porosity is maybe 2 to 3%, but the key thing is the open porosity, the interconnected pores that water can actually get into. That's only about 1 to 1.5%.
Ah, I see. And that low open porosity is really important for outdoor performance. It gives it good resistance to freeze-thaw cycles. Less water gets in, so less expansion when it freezes and potentially causes damage.
That explains how it can handle different climates and temperatures. You mentioned abrasion resistance again for high traffic. Is there a specific measure for that?
Yes, the info references the Bohm test. It measures how much material is lost due to abrasion. Tundra Grey scores around 18 millimeters on that.
Then that's good.
That figure supports its use in those high-traffic public areas, yeah, especially as you might expect if it has a honed or brushed finish.
Why those finishes specifically?
Well, a high-gloss polish looks amazing initially, but it tends to show scratches more easily over time, especially with lots of foot traffic. Honed, which is matte, or brushed, which has a slight texture, are generally more practical for busy floors. They hide minor wear and tear better.
Good point. What about heat, say on a kitchen counter, or chemicals?
It's pretty stable with temperature changes,
Okay.
so putting a hot pan down briefly usually isn't a problem. However, and this is really vital for anyone thinking of using it,
Okay.
like all stones made mostly of calcite, which is what marble is, it is sensitive to acids.
Oh, like lemon juice, vinegar, wine spills.
Precisely. Those things can cause etching that's like a dull mark on the surface, or even staining if left too long.
So maintenance is key.
Absolutely. This is why the information strongly recommends regularly applying a protective sealer. A good quality sealer is your main defense. It helps prevent stuff from penetrating and causing stains or etches, preserving the look of the stone.
That's really important practical advice. Does the color hold up well over time, especially thinking about those outdoor facades again?
Sure.
Sun exposure?
Yes, color fastness is another plus on the technical side. It's very stable. It doesn't really fade, even with prolonged sun exposure,
Great.
which makes it ideal for those facade applications or anywhere that gets a lot of UV light. It'll keep its original beautiful tones for years, decades even.
And what about for the people actually working with it? Fabricators, installers. Is it easy to cut and shape?
Yeah, its structure helps there too. It has a fine grain,
Okay.
and that allows for really precise cutting, polishing, shaping. That workability is why you can get those intricate mosaics or custom edge profiles we talked about.
Right.
And yes, when you polish it, it takes a beautiful high gloss. But as we said, you can also hone it, brush it, achieve different looks and practical finishes. Offers lots of options.
So summing up the tech specs then, it seems like it really does have the substance to back up the style.
It really does. These technical strengths, they ensure Tundra Grey isn't just, aesthetically compelling. It's a durable, reliable, and pretty sustainable material choice, too, when sourced responsibly. It manages to unify both those visual demands of high-end design and the practical structural requirements for modern building.
So when you bring all of that together, the stunning look, the journey from deep inside Turkey, the solid technical performance, it really does feel like it's more than just, a slab of rock.
That's exactly the feeling you get from the information and from working with it. It's described as nature's gift, literally shaped over millennia. It sits right at that sweet spot, that intersection of technical confidence and just undeniable aesthetic elegance.
And for you personally, when you're in a space where it's used well, what's the feeling?
You're not just touching a cold surface, it feels like. Like there's a warmth there, the warmth of a story that nature carved out. It's like bringing a piece of ancient history into modern life. It brings that natural calm, that sophisticated grounding effect right into your immediate surroundings. It's a material that offers this very specific, very beautiful combination of qualities, and it's just fascinating to see how people are using it all around the world.
It really is. It makes you think, doesn't it, about the materials we surround ourselves with every day.
Definitely does.
Maybe consider this, how choosing a material like Tundra Grey marble actually connects us in a really tangible way to the vast geological timescales it represents. We're literally bringing a piece of ancient Earth into our modern spaces. Yeah.
What other incredible stories, the materials around us, The wood in our furniture, the metal in our gadgets, the fabrics we wear. What stories might they be telling if we just took a moment to look closer and understand their journey?
That's a really nice thought to carry with you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Tundra Gray marble today. It was genuinely fascinating to explore its story and really get under the surface of what makes it so special.